You ready for this cold weather yet?
I am tired of heat.
Let's see here. You remember going through the NASW Code of Ethics?
Yeah.
I have students not able to find it right now for some reason. I'm like, I swear you just have to do a search. Right, yeah, and they give it to you. So actually, I just searched it. I'm going to hit reply and then paste it. Edit, paste. There it is. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, they're not finding it. How is your other classes going for you?
Great.
Yeah. Exhausting. Sometimes it's a little bit tiring. Oh. Well, let's see. Did I? Oh. Our Spanish teacher gave me this. In Spain, she's from an island that's like this. She's like, I go home and visit my family every summer. I'm like, I would go home and visit my family every summer if I was from there. And so they're going to the Dominican Republic this summer. Did you know that we're doing that?
No, it's a study abroad.
Yeah. But like students are going, which I was impressed by. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever done study abroad. But
they're doing Ghana. I'm trying to get on that one.
Like Ghana, Africa?
South America.
Thanks again for joining us today, Sean, and for sharing your journey with us. I know it's really difficult, but let's start.
I gotta find out which one's making this. There it is. We were doing human trafficking in the other class. Let's do another different topic here. Actually, we just had the most recent chapter, forming, storming, norming. What was the first one? Why am I blanking on this? I just talked to you guys last week. I guess it is forming. So now it's storming and norming. That's what it is. Which is kind of like, ideally, I can't remember if JL said he wanted to lead his group this week or not, but it's okay if he doesn't. We have this that I wanted to get through and try to get you out of here. Do you have any questions so far? Maybe that would be good. Would you feel? What's that?
I'm good.
Like about leading the group, how would you feel about that or your internship on the lead one?
Gotta do it and see what happens.
That's exactly how I was. I was like, I really don't want to do this, but it's best to just get it over with. Say yes. All right. So we did forming last week. You're forming your group. Now we're dipping into storming and norming. So I want to see if this will play for me and give you some commentary in between slides. I'm kind of glad we made these 10 years ago because I want them.
Hello class and welcome to our second lecture on group stages. To follow our lecture on forming, in this lecture we're looking at the next two group stages, storming and norming, as part of our group skills in substance abuse counseling course. As we look at the objectives for the week, I want to remind you to review the chapters for the week prior to viewing the lecture, as it is intended to supplement your reading. By the end of the week, you should be able to identify behavior that may be considered resistance during the storming stage, describe how peer relationships develop in the norming stage, and distinguish among the first stages of groups, including forming, storming, and norming. First, let's review the 5 stages of group development that we're looking at during these 3 weeks. The stages include the initial stage of forming, which we discussed last week, and is characterized by initial caution associated with any new experience. During the forming stage, members may attempt to avoid being rejected by others, and may be superficial, centering conversations on historical or future events that don't necessarily have a direct impact on the group experience. With respect to tasks during the forming stage, remember that the group must deal with apprehension, as well as review member goals and contracts, specify roles.
I want to stop it there just because this is something that comes up in everything. And even when you're making friends, so they say, people talk about future events or past events. It's like small talk. So you're first meeting somebody, which even if you think as the university as a group, then that is kind of, you think of freshman orientation and like the way people are kind of just like meeting each other, having small talk. Then maybe end of your freshman year, even into sophomore year, you get more of like the different groups that you're hanging out with. And then in the final piece, probably by, are you a junior now, did you say? Probably by then, it would be, I'm just making sure my wife got her dinner. She has to go to the kids again. I was like, did you get the dinner? Because I'm sure she's losing her mind. So storming and norming like sophomore and junior year, and then even performing and then joining, because next year you want to close it out. So if you thought of college as the group.
First, let's review the 5 stages of group development that we're looking at during these 3 weeks. The stages include the initial stage of forming, which we discussed last week, and is characterized by initial caution associated with any new experience. During the forming stage, members may attempt to avoid being rejected by others, and may be superficial, centering conversations on historical or future events that don't necessarily have a direct impact on the group experience. With respect to tasks during the forming stage, remember that the group must deal with apprehension, as well as review member goals and contracts, specify roles, set limits, and promote positive interchange among members. This week, we're going to talk about the next 2 stages, storming and norming.
Your sophomore year.
And then next week, we'll wrap up by talking about the working and closing stages, also known as performing and adjoining.
Junior and senior.
So first today, we will look at the storming stage and talk a little bit about member behavior here. As the group transitions from the initial forming stage to the next stage, which is storming, group members may begin to compete with one another to find their place in the group. Peer relationships may be uncomfortable as the group struggles over power and control, and may be characterized by anxiety, resistance, defensiveness, conflict, and confrontation. The storming stage helps bridge the group closer to a time of productivity, and although it may be uncomfortable, it is necessary in the development of a successful group. Primary tension is what members are likely to experience during the first session, and primary tension is concerned with the kind of awkwardness that comes with strange situations. Secondary tension, in contrast, deals with intra-group conflict, and is what we see in the storming stage. With the help of group leaders, members work through non-productive ways of relating and begin to establish new patterns and a role in the group. The issue of power is central to the storming stage and refers to the capacity to bring about certain intended consequences in the behavior of others. In response to the struggle for power, group members may at first attempt to address the issue through old approaches, like fighting or withdrawing. And because members are still just beginning to get to know one another, there's very little trust established in the group during the forming stage. Members may exhibit resistance to change through behaviors like intellectualizing, questioning, or advice giving, as well as band-aiding, where members prevent others from expressing their emotional pain by trying to soothe a calm member who may actually benefit from exploring themselves more deeply. Other resistant behavior may be seen through dependency, or members who monopolize group time, and also through an attack on the group leader, which may come as a result of subgrouping, fear of intimacy, or extra-group socializing. There are many strategies for working through the interpersonal and intrapersonal group issues that occur during the storming stage, which may include inviting a process observer to come provide feedback on what he or she sees occurring within the group. This neutral third party can help spark conversations, which might allow members to attempt to change behaviors or modify ways of interacting. Working through the storming stage will result in members having a greater capacity for productive work by having established emotional space for one another. The interdependency among group members and the stability of the group as a whole cannot deepen until issues within the group surface are acknowledged and are dealt with. The work that occurs during the storming stage allows for the group to progress to the norming stage, and ultimately this is the work that allows for productivity and success in the long term.
I'll kind of give my commentary there with the different stuff in groups and the different things that can go on. As a sophomore, this is the sophomore stage of the group, which is, have you ever been told what sophomore means? Have you heard of
It's
it?
basically freshman year.
It means wise fool. So sophos, moron is like a fool, and a sophos is like the love of wisdom. So they say wise fool. And like, I remember even my own sophomore year about to drop out. So resistance, even intellectualizing, like, why do I need this degree? I can go to work, I can get a job, questioning, even advice giving, like, oh, you should go work over here, and band-aiding. So like thinking of it as the college sophomore year, and then hopefully getting to working through storming. So in the group, you're getting to working through storming, and that's an important thing, because I'm, ideally getting people to where they need to be in the group. There may be some that try to monopolize the group, and you'll see that as a social worker leading your groups. But again, you try to work through that, and here's some of the stuff that they suggest for us to. I'll look at that slide inside it. That's okay. That might be one of our next ones. So let's start it here. Yeah, 22, or she's just speaking Chinese. Interesting. So yeah, you're in that norming stage. You begin to have those peer relationships, some of those here and now experiences, hope, cooperation, and collaboration, and then eventually cohesion. But it does take some working through with like the students that we have. Let's see here. Make sure that we have. Let's go on to the next one. Because it definitely spoke on this last one.
So first today, we will look at the storming stage and talk a little bit about member behavior here. As the group transitions from the initial forming stage to the next stage, which is storming, group members may begin to compete with one another to find their place in the group. Peer relationships may be uncomfortable as the group struggles over power and control.
Yeah, this is just a silent slide, but essentially it is kind of the norming behaviors is kind of helping folks kind of collaborate and get to work together and find ways to get something out of the group. In addictions group, kind of the common goal is to stay sober. So that's like what one of our most frequent groups we see, because addictions affect so many others. If there's a mental health group, or I had a friend who always led a DBT group, and again, the idea was to have the group members give each other hope, give their here and now experiences, and hold one another accountable with cooperation and collaboration. And then some of the tasks that they do is like supporting each other. They're going to be empathizing. Sometimes you can have them lead a group or help facilitate leading the group, like things they do. Like I go to this AA meeting on Friday nights, or I make sure to check in and do like morning check-in. And then, so self-disclosure is an interesting one they bring up here, because have you ever heard when it is okay for social workers to self-disclose?
Maybe like the last resort.
Yeah, so it's either, they say, when it is beneficial to the client or clients, if you're in a group. Like, but if you're just sharing to like talk about you, that's when it's not good. You know what I mean? You don't wanna just like maximize and, kind of take over the groups. You want to, give that chance for.
So here we are again, ready for our second video clip, looking at leading in the here and now. This 1 hour section is called Transition and Flight. And you will again need to log in using your username and password in order to access the video. This video is going to illustrate these next two stages for us of storming and norming, and also provides a nice model for strong group leadership. Please make sure to take the time to review this video, whether it be in short segments or the full hour in one sitting, and look specifically for issues related to struggles for power, issues of anxiety, and later an increased sense of identification and cooperation and collaboration among group members.
So I'm gonna go back to that one to see, I'm pretty sure I can't get into it with my UC account anymore, but see if I can look up the leading in the here and now. And just, finding ways to be present with your group members is one of the most important. So, is there a way to copy and look up right from there? There's so many videos on storming and norming that it's almost not fun. The team stages and different things that they give to show. So, I want to go to this one because this is what we use in the video. Of course it's not public. That's okay. AlexanderStreet.com too. I don't know if I've ever heard of Alexander Street either, which is interesting.
Every team is expected to go through the stages of forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. The leadership watched teams go through these stages many times and began to understand the impact of these stages on the ability of a team to do its job.
Does that sound like a robot to you? Just checking, because for whatever reason that annoys me, and it probably shouldn't. I should just roll with it. I don't like listening to the robot speaking. There's a lot of good stuff on the group dynamics though that I wanted to dip into. And so even if you don't run groups as a team, you often have a social work team, or as like faculty, we also have a team. We have to find ways to be leaders. So leadership 101, keeping the team happy. So that's another thing that comes up with team development. So this is going to be
Director Fury, I think it's time. To start, you become part of a bigger universe. Just don't. I'm here to talk to you about the inventor issue. As far as I'm concerned, that man's whole body is property of the U.S. Army.
so what's happening.
He said it was Thor. Where did he come
You're aware that we got an infantry weapons development program. WW2 initiated a sub-program. You've been asleep, Cap, for almost 70 years. Oh, no, but your actions. You need a team. What if I say no?
So I've had a lot of students that were kind of like more into the movies, but let's make sure that we've got some of the storming stage of the team. Okay, this was the other one. It's only 2 minutes.
Every relationship, every team goes through a phase of storming. I call it the ugly middle. And the ugly middle is, you ever think about that proverbial tunnel where you're in the middle of it and you look back and all you see is darkness, and you look forward and all you see is darkness and there's no light at either end. And you go, I don't know where I am. I don't know how long it's going to take to get out of here. I don't know how long it would take to get back the other way, and I don't like it. That's the storming phase. This is what separates those who are, I wanted to say the men from the boys or the women from the girls, but it really does separate us from each other. This is the phase where the patterns click in, and it's where we end up stamping our feet and getting our fists up and not hearing each other. Now, what I want you to know is there is no way out of this phase except to keep moving forward. There's no way out. Be it in a marriage, they go through this ugly middle. Be it in a workplace, they go through, or we go through this ugly middle. So if you keep that in your mind, you're in really good stead. Now, what do we do when we're there?
And so the reason you do go through that ugly middle, and relationships are good examples, like you guys are both establishing what your boundaries are, and you're not going to find them if you don't have that conflict. It goes for the same as in a group, where without that, you stay with the small talk. You kind of deal with just superficialities. And if you really do want to get into a therapeutic group, you're going to have some of that conflict. I always go back to addictions groups because that's mostly what I did as a social worker. And there's always that conflict. Some people will be like, why can't I just have like 1 beer or 2 beers? And if they are alcoholic, they can't, because once they start, they can't stop. And that's kind of, or like, why can't I just like smoke a joint if I, why do I have to be totally abstinent? So you'll have people that even go out and try that, and then they get arrested and they find out the hard way. But even in college, if we didn't question our professors, we wouldn't have perfected answers and better research on how to help serve the people that we're serving. So that's kind of what she's going in. I like that she brings in the marriage scenario too. That's definitely part of the deal.
You take a deep breath and you stand still. You stand still for just a minute. You face forward. We're going to keep walking in the forward direction. Stand still for a minute. Take a deep breath, and we have to begin to form the questions. They're the accountability questions. They're the questions that say, what do you want as an outcome? How can I behave differently? What can I do to say something that will help forward the action here rather than push everybody back? What is it that makes me need to be the hero or the superachiever or the rebel or the denier? What problem here? How can I ask the questions that will make a difference? Go to the website, take the pattern aware quiz, and then ask for, or we will send you, the team development white paper that will help you begin to see how important it is to ask the right questions during this time of the ugly middle, but you don't want to stay there really long. You want to keep going.
So that's another good point, is you kind of want to push through that and get to the next part and normalcy. So, and with that, we'll finish up with this one. I don't know why it's still, that's interesting. So this does let you search media. I didn't realize that. It's powered by Bing. Okay. Well, I'll take a look at that one. Let me get this one through. So this is the research from Gladine and kind of the stuff that he did. So characterized by initial caution associated with a new experience, an attempt to be rejected by others, So that's your first part, kind of the freshman year or the honeymoon phase of the wedding. So after your wedding, you have a honeymoon, you're just like learning each other. You might try to be superficial, especially my first year of grad school or freshman year. And then the next piece, we get to the storming. It's the conflict time, some anxiety. The members tend to be more anxious in their interactions, and the power is the main concern. So the main task, you as a social worker, you want to have concentration on direct objectives, and then a healthy pause takes place, and also sometimes scapegoating can take place. And the last piece is norming, characterized by a we-ness. So that's ideally going to be next week. I wanted to get through all of these before you guys left your group, so I'm kind of glad JL said he might come and lead it this week. Have you seen him at all this week? Hopefully he doesn't have COVID. You know anybody who caught COVID yet?
No.
I think most people are staying out, which is good. So, you ever had that many tabs open on your computer?
That's annoying. Why do you have so many?
That's how many classes I've taught today. And then I don't have a chance to like stop and reset it. So like 4 videos in the morning class, then the noon class probably has 4 or 5 videos. And then our faculty meeting, and then I had another late afternoon class. HBSC has a lot, and then the last piece. So any of the forming or storming making sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
I know we beat it with a dead horse until it's like perfect for you guys, but the group dynamic stuff is interesting. And some groups are a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. That's why they continue to come up with new ways to deal with it. So, see if I can finish you off with a good.
Psychologists tell us that in any new group, whether it's a classroom or outside the classroom.
So that's more for the language classroom, that's interesting.
Or
Well, let's save this one for next week when you're all here, because that's kind of where I'm at. Unless if you wanted to go over anything for your leading of the group.
Do you want us to do it in class or recording?
You could do either one because we'll record it in class. It would be nice to get like an in-person thing, just because I know in COVID times you can go either way with it. But if you do it in person, it might take away like the jitters that you may have if you were to like go to your internship next year and have to leave your group. So it's up to you, whatever you like to do. What's that?
Are we done?
I think we are done, and I was gonna say, maybe some better points consideration if you do it in person, because it would be nice. We've been on COVID leave for so long. If, I'll try to put a carrot in front of it, if you wanna do it in person, definitely good consideration. All right, well, good to see you, and thank you.
And I also started my volunteering, so they might email you and confirm it. I don't know if you
They wanna email me?
They might.
Oh, okay, where is it at again? Did you say?
Kind in Dayton. It's like an after-school program.
KIND?
Mhm.
And then which school is it, like?
It's at a church, but there's a few districts involved.
And how do they do it in COVID?
We do recess with the kids outside, and then we go inside and we do homework, and they go on like computer games, then lunch afterwards, and they go home.
Okay, and is it mostly low income, middle income, high income?
They're like immigrants. So
Oh,
there's like kids from Africa and
Really?
Mexico. Yeah,
that would be cool if they had any group materials for you on that.
maybe I should.
Yeah, because if they had something, I mean, the girl circle is fine, but that's for people that aren't doing anything. You know what I mean? And that, like, if you're doing something, it's kind of cool as it like brings it to life for you, and you can actually see these things in real life. And you can be like, yeah, here's a group we do with immigrants to help them meet each other. Here's how we break the ice. Here's like what with kids, it makes them comfortable, and just then like a closing group. So if so, again, no pressure, but that would be sweet.
Because one girl, she does Liberty University online,
Huh,
and her internship is
really? And is she a social worker?
psychology.
Really? Okay, so yeah, she might have some stuff. Liberty is that like super conservative one, isn't it? Okay, that would be interesting too, just to hear her perspective on like, some of them are even like, no, we don't want immigrants here. She might not, I was gonna say, she might not be, but that's kind of cool, okay, well, awesome. Well then, I look forward to it, and we'll see you next week. Mhm.